So, should we do a podcast? Do you think that we have enough that's worth it?
Yeah, we have plenty.
Why? What gives us the right to
The right?
The right.
What do you mean the right?
What gives us the right to think that people should be listening to what we have to talk about? And what are we talking about?
We have years of living the life, of knowledge, of ingrained in us.
Who doesn't have that?
Everyone watching.
They're all watching because they have nothing.
They have nothing. No, we're all on this path together. We're talking about. There's a lot to discuss. I don't even know.
Well, first of all, you've obviously built a platform already in regards to fitness, and it's turned into more than that. It's turned into spirituality. It's turned into telling your story about drug use, about going to jail, about finding God, about the 12 steps, about all that. So obviously there's some experience that you have. I don't know what I have to offer. Maybe something. I do talk to people a lot during the day in regards to their problems and stuff. So if there's a chance, if there's even a mere chance to help people along,
Don't we all have a story?
We all have a story. Some are worth listening to. Some might not be, right?
No.
Every story is worth listening to?
I think every single person has value to offer to the world.
Yeah, but some people know how to offer it, too.
Well, that's different.
Yeah.
That's totally different.
So there's plenty of people who have a story, but they're not going to tell it necessarily or feel like it's worth telling or know how to tell it.
Yeah, but I get a lot of people who reach out to me all the dang time, and they're like, I'm thinking about starting a channel. I'm thinking about doing this. And I'm like, do it. You should do it right now because there's nothing special that's going to happen where one day you wake up and say, oh, now I'm ready. There's no way you're going to feel comfortable doing it. It's uncomfortable. You're going to suck. You're going to freaking cringe when you look at your first videos. And you're going to be like, man, that looks freaking nasty. And your next one might be just as bad. And your next one. And it might get a little better, a little more comfortable. But the only way to do it is to do it.
Well, so let's assume that we were doing it. That we were doing a podcast, let's say. You make your videos, you've done plenty of solo stuff, but us talking together, do you think there's something to offer there?
Sure.
What? What do you think it is?
Our freaking vast knowledge in the fitness freaking lifestyle and between the stuff we've both been through, the stuff we've individually been through, the bodybuilding lifestyle, addiction, recovery, therapy that you're licensed for, and the fact that you are licensed to train / coach people. I think there's plenty there.
All right, good. You watch some podcasts, no?
I'd watch tons of them.
Yeah. Anybody who you ever talk about? I don't know if anybody who listens to you, if you ever reference any of the things that you listen to or get influenced by, or not even necessarily influenced by, entertained by, whatever.
I don't really listen to any bodybuilders or fitness podcasts at all. I mean, I listen to some political commentators and stuff just to kind of stay up on the news from some independent journalists and stuff, so I don't have to watch
more and more people are doing
freaking mainstream garbage, so I can get what I think is a good stream of information. And I watch these guys, man, and they're great. The people who I watch, they're entertaining, they're engaging, they're captivating, but they don't have anything special about them that I couldn't offer to people. As far maybe the subject matter is their niche or whatever, but not their delivery or their whatever is nothing earth-shattering.
Well, it depends. I mean, sometimes I think once you start doing the thing, the podcast, the interviews, the whatever it is, you start to appreciate more of a skill that somebody has that you probably didn't think about in a certain way. Obviously, who I would be thinking about, right? One of the biggest podcasters, Joe Rogan, is like really good at what he does. The guy knows how to allow somebody to talk and knows when to chime in, and he's very good at that, right?
What is a podcast?
That's a good question. Is it any forum that you either record for audio and or video that you're just kind of delivering on a subject or having a conversation with so that an audience can listen in on it? I feel like it's more of a podcast is more of a conversation sometimes, or more of a lecture on a topic in a non-traditional way, meaning it's not as structured always.
Sure, like I've gone out live a lot and done Q&As and stuff. Is that different than a podcast?
I don't know. The podcasts that I've listened to, which I haven't listened to that many, I have a couple people who I generally tune into, are not live. So I don't know. I'm sure that live podcasting is a thing, right? I mean, you know better than I do.
Well, let's start with this, man. The whole idea for a podcast came up when, what I recall, is there were people on either the Heistem Saturday Live, or I showed you some comments on YouTube where people were trolling me about drug use, about steroid use. And I think you made a comment, you said, let's podcast it.
What did I mean? What did I say? When did I say that? So what did I mean when I said let's podcast it? Like, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about
All
it.
right. Yeah. That's
how
a good
it got
subject to talk about.
That's how it got started.
Yeah. And also, what's a podcast? What's the format need to be? And I think that it doesn't need to be about, like, this doesn't need to be an hour about that. It can be a mix and match, and when things come up, it just comes up. Listen, I'm thinking almost in terms of the therapy that I do. And a lot of times, therapists have a very systematic way of doing things. This session, we're going to do this. Session 2, we're going to do this. And I'm much more into, like, a free flow. Sometimes it's necessary to be structural, but sometimes a free flow is really nice, and I've appreciated that from the conversations that I've had. You just kind of go where the conversation goes, and that's really fun to me. So in 5 minutes we could be talking about the roid use, like you were just saying, and then the next 5 minutes we could be talking about other issues that are totally non-related. Right. You know, it's just kind of where you and I go, and I think that that's what we have to offer. Is you and I think that when we've been around certain people and having conversations just kind of amongst ourselves but around people, that we can talk pretty well to each other and riff off each other and get into some subject matter that's serious but funny and humorous and all of that. So people love us, dude.
They do?
People worship us. I don't think you get it.
No one worships us.
Worship.
Let me
worship.
Worships us, yeah.
Most people,
I don't want to be worshipped.
Yeah, well, you don't need to want to be, but
no.
It's out there.
Let me tell you this, though. I pulled on Heistem Saturday. This last Heistem Saturday, there were it's up to 4,600 views for whatever reason. There was like 100 people at a time. I said, should me and my brother do a podcast? Everybody said yes. A lot of yeses, no nos. Wow. Everybody wants the podcast. There's a lot of subjects to cover.
Right.
A lot to cover. It's endless. Content, I have found the content is freaking endless.
Sure.
On YouTube. I have so much. I never run out. I never freaking run out of content.
Well, because anybody can always also ask you a question, what's your take on this, that, or the other, that you've never even thought about, but now you have the chance to answer it because somebody else has been thinking about it.
So is that part of the podcast?
Sure. I mean, it will be. It could be. It has potential to be. There's a lot that could be part of the podcast. That's the question that I'm asking is, do we need to create, a format for it, a structure for it? And I guess that, what I've realized is you probably think in episode 1 that you have this vision of how it could be, and then it just morphs into something else. And that's how your channel probably was, right? I mean, did you have a vision of what it was going to be and what you were trying to do with it?
I had a vision that it was going to be a one-stop shop for fitness, addiction, garage gym workouts, spirituality. I had a vision from the start that I could talk about all the stuff that I find in my heart that I like in my life and that kind of stuff. I did have that vision, and I didn't know that I would be bogged down with so many freaking pre-workouts to review constantly,
Right.
which kind of deters me from making content like this. So this is good because I never get to really. It's rare that I get around to making other kinds of content
Right.
outside of supplements.
Well, sometimes it also depends, like, if you're thinking in a business mindset, right? Like, some people want to be known as just this person, and they don't want to be affiliated with the other stuff, but something in you has the itch to get outside of just being the pre-workout reviewer or the fitness guy and get into some other subjects.
That's my brand, though. My brand was to be transparent about my life. A lot of these guys, no offense to them, but they don't want to talk about their personal lives. I don't know, for whatever reason. It's just not part of their channel. It's just not something they're willing to talk. They're secretive.
Well, is it good for them, though, in a sense that they don't? Because if they did, then maybe it would either be a turnoff to people, it would get them in trouble. I mean, maybe they're doing it strategically in a way.
Yeah, I think they're doing it because they're scared. I think they're scared.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think it's probably twofold. I think
People
sometimes
don't want
it's
to
out
be
of fear.
judged.
Right. I think sometimes it's out of fear, and sometimes it's out of, that's just not what business that I'm trying to create here.
Yeah.
Right?
That's fine.
Yeah.
I always found that being genuine and being transparent attracts people.
Yeah.
And I always found that, but that's the point. Back to the beginning, we all have something of value to bring to the world, you know. And if you're not relatable, if people don't look at you like, man, that's kind of a real dude who struggles with things that you know how many people come to me when I talk about like stay out of your head. How many people have been like, dude, I relate to that so much. Like my head is freaking crazy. Like,
there are definitely universal truths, and everybody has the times that they get in their head. Some people just stay in there, like stay.
But a lot of people in freaking fitness have that addiction, that craziness, man. A lot of people, and so it's not like what's the freaking term? Exclusive.
No.
Where it's like that's separate. Like a lot of it goes together.
Yeah.
What
do you think about fitness? I don't know if it's addiction to fitness you're saying, or just fitness in general, that these people tend to also be in their heads.
I think a lot of fitness, there can be a lot of self involved.
Yes.
A lot more self than some other kinds of things, and I think we got to watch for that. And I think just the way that the addict thinks with everything's like times 100 in here with the obsession and with freaking like just the noise in our heads that hold us back really from making gains, you know. It's like the thing that gets in the way of me making the most. We think that the things in our head help us make gains, but really they get in the way of it a lot of times. You know,
I mean,
they don't let us
definitely
rest.
certain gains.
They don't let us freaking take days off. They don't let us, you know, realize, you know, maybe some actually eating a little more might help us. You know, our heads are like the worst when it comes to gains. You know, so just talking about all the stuff that I learned from AA and the 12 steps, spirituality, whatever, it kind of goes hand in hand with the fitness stuff and everything. You know.
Yeah, it does go hand in hand, and definitely we get in our heads, and it's sometimes very difficult to stop that pattern, because sometimes when it's in our head it feels like it's our intuition, and we're always taught to follow our intuition, or that saying is out there, follow your intuition, follow your instinct. And sometimes intuition is not the right thing because thoughts aren't facts. And So there's a difference, right, between, or is there, between following your heart and following your thoughts sometimes.
Yeah.
Obviously, there is a difference, but sometimes do those overlap too. And so that can lead people to guess, I think. Um,
Well,
like,
that's what prayer and meditation is for,
yeah.
and that's what sitting and listening is for. You
Mm.
know, and we do a lot of moving, myself included for sure, and not sitting still and listening for
Most
the
people
right
don't sit
answers.
and
Most
listen.
people don't. It's why
By far.
it's why
By
it's
far.
called a practice. It's
Yes.
why yoga is called a yoga practice, or
Mm.
meditation is called a practice, because it's a work in progress. It's something you perfect, which means by definition it's not perfect. To perfect something means to
Mm.
strive to make it perfect, which means it's not perfect.
Right.
And spirituality is like, I was saying, I was just talking about this yesterday. I was saying that bodybuilding can give us this beautiful life. It can go both ways. It could give us this amazing life of discipline,
Mm.
spirituality, because you're conscious of what you're consuming, you're sculpting, working on your body, your temple, routine, regimen, structure, or it could give you a life of way too much self and me, and we got to be on guard for that. So it can
Yeah.
give us really great, amazing things, and it
I
can
think
give us the opposite.
also people sometimes feel guilty to admit that part of their bodybuilding is for their vanity in a way or for their ego. And I think it's good to free yourself of that and admit that part of your motivation is because you like to look good, because looking good feels good and it helps us build confidence. And so I see that people have that kind of guilt about, uh, you know, coming to admit that they enjoy the process of building themselves so that they can look at themselves in a more attractive light and be
Dude,
looked at by other people in a more attractive light.
from a spiritual perspective, there's nothing wrong with taking interest in your physique.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with having an interest in taking care of your body and looking your best possible. There's nothing, because what's behind that is a life of restriction.
Yeah.
What you have to do is practice restriction, be conscious of what you're consuming,
Yeah.
consciousness. There's a lot of spiritual principles behind the six pack. The
Right.
six pack just represents a life of discipline, structure, freaking restriction. There's a lot that goes behind that.
I mean, then there's the balancing act. As you said, it's a practice, right? So I've had to deny myself a lot of social interaction that would have probably been a good time overall, but would have taken me away from a goal of mine to build my body physically.
Yeah, but
Right?
is it the chicken or the egg? Did you do some of that so you could purposely have an excuse not to socially interact?
No. I mean, when it came to, for instance, competing, like, I choose to compete because it gives me, well, partially because it gives me discipline. It makes me have to have a deadline. That's kind of what I liked about competing in physique, is it gave me a deadline to say, hey, there's no screwing around for this much time because by this date you're going to be stepping on stage and you need to have a finished product there. And so when I created that deadline, my entire world changed as far as what my motivations are, what my intentions are, what my focus is, and how I was going to conduct myself. And so that took, and listen, I do it to myself, so it's not poor me sitting at home alone without dinner plans. I chose that, but I think the reality is when one valve turns on, one valve has to lower. And a lot of people have a very tough time, I think, accepting that when you turn up one valve, you are going to have to turn down the other in order for you to succeed in whichever goal that you decide to go by. So if you're trying to be and make the best body that you can, you are going to have to. It's in the book. It's not like you can just go out to restaurants and just make the best choices that you want to make. Sometimes you have to, or will have to, lower your amount of socialization.
All right, so let me ask you this. Do you see the life of competitive bodybuilders and athletes as too much self?
I can't say too much. It's not for me to say too much. Too much is about, I think, what somebody believes in themselves. It's too much if you are believing that you're suffering the consequences of these actions. So it's too much if you demand more socialization, but you've created this idea that you also need to have this particular kind of body. Well, then, yeah, you're asking too much of yourself. You're not going to be able to do both. So choose one.
Right.
So I think that it's coming to terms and coming to peace with, okay, well, temporarily I'm raising this level and I'm lowering this level.
What I meant too much thinking about myself.
I don't know.
That's a big.
I think that's also, but isn't that also right? Isn't that about you though? It's about the individual, right?
Sure.
But is that universally going to be something if somebody wants to get to a particular level that they have to think about themselves that much, that they have to have that kind of ego? Does a fighter who's getting ready to go out after somebody have to have cockiness and have to believe that they can truly take on anybody in the world? It's like, in order to meet a particular level, I think you might have to have that kind of ego.
And do you think that's dangerous for a recovered alcoholic?
Probably.
That's what I think.
Yeah, for sure.
I think for a recovered addict, it's a dangerous place to go. Not saying that necessarily something bad's going to happen, but it increases it increases the me thinking about me more.
So I have an interesting question that I'm thinking about now. You don't compete, and maybe you're saying that that's why you don't compete, because it could be dangerous, it could get you to that next level. But do you think that you needed something like this channel that you've created, Garage Gym Homie, in order to make the working out and the vision and the motivation to give you something, to give you some sense that you were working towards something or are continually working towards something, to give you some sense of ego, Maybe you don't bodybuild.
Well, I don't know if the term is need, because I trained for 6.5 years before the
and
channel.
you looked like shit. And you looked like a little bitch. Yeah, that's my point.
What?
Yeah.
I did the same thing before than I do now.
Uh-huh. I have pictures that prove otherwise.
And I was doing it non-stim.
Oh.
It's even gotten worse now. I've thrown in stimulants now.
I see.
I trained 6.5 years non-stim and made my gains.
That's true.
Right?
Right.
We did most of our training. High Stim Saturday
true?
for me was a freaking cup of cold brew I used to make.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I'm thinking.
And then Don introduced us to Total War at the gym right before COVID.
Total War. Well, I took before, when you were still in California, I was doing some working out, and I took the OG Jack 3D.
Yeah, you were on pre-workout.
I was on pre-workouts, but not religiously. Certainly not to any near level. It was once in a while. Now it's okay, I'm working out. What am I taking?
Right. The channel is great, dude, for me. It has been such a light to my life. I'm sure that it contributes to... The question is this. without the channel,
Right.
would I be just as dialed in?
That's a
For
question.
sure. Do you doubt that?
I doubt the quickness to answer it. I don't know. That's the thing. I can see that having
So
a
you're saying I
channel-
would have maybe fallen off from what I was
I
doing?
don't know about
so-
falling off. I just don't know when you have a vision and a motivation of knowing that you're going to be in front of, let's say, a screen or having to be accountable to other people in a way, you kind of make yourself accountable to other people in a way. Doesn't that set you up for motivation? I mean, in a good way.
It
I'm not
does.
saying in a bad
I like
way.
leading by example.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, I was also, when I wasn't doing this,
Mhm.
I was speaking at the treatment center freaking every month for 6 years at
Yeah.
Maple Grove.
Yeah.
And so I was still in it with
Right.
connecting with people in some way.
Right.
And when COVID happened, they shut the doors. I was like, we built the garage gym. I was like, man, we were gonna do the Garage Gym Bros Instagram, and I was like, man, we could. And then I was just like, I'll just do the Garage Gym, homie. And either way, it's been good. I think it's been really positive.
Yeah.
I get a lot of behind the scene messages and stuff about the value the content has changed people's lives, which is mind blowing to me and incredible.
Yeah.
And almost hard to believe, but not really either at the same time, because like my sponsor changed my life by a lot of stuff he said and stuff you've told me and everything. And I don't know, it's like, dude, besides staying sober, there's been very few things that I've actually followed through with in my life that I've started. So this was one, the channel. I mean, I bought guitar, never played it. Remember, I bought a freaking Xbox, said I'd be a gamer when I got sober.
Yeah.
I pick things up all the time and don't follow it through. So this has been freaking pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
been a consistent and a staple, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's taken up a lot of good time. I mean, this Val, listen, if everything in life, right, it's if you're choosing to put time into this, then you're choosing not to put time into something else. I don't see anything that would be, I guess, better than choosing to put your time into something like this, right? I mean, when we're thinking about what it does.
Well, let me ask
for
you, do
yourself
you
or
see
to
it
other
as a
people.
positive thing?
Yeah, I see it as a positive thing.
You
I do, very much so.
Do you think Dad sees it as a positive thing?
I don't think Dad knows enough about it to make a judgment, and if he, I don't think he has probably an opinion formed on it. It's unfortunate that he doesn't ask very much about it.
I have daddy issues. You
Yeah.
know, and I
Well,
freaking.
that's universal too. Everybody's got
You know,
something
mine
when
are
it comes
worse
to their
than all
parents.
theirs.
No, I don't think
No.
not necessarily. Maybe your mommy issues are. That could
Seriously?
be a little worse.
I didn't think I had any mommy issues.
She's dead. That's an issue.
Yeah, but I feel like as a result, is that an issue? As a result,
I think it leads
like
to
going to the cemetery and making amends, and like I felt like I'm at peace with it. Like I felt like I wrapped up those loose ends in my heart.
No doubt, but it's an experience that you've gone through that definitely will shape you in some way. It's made you go through even if the experience is way back, it made you go through some tough times that now you can hold as an experience that you've gone through and talk about it, and in a more intellectual way than you might have at that time, but definitely caused some feelings at that time. Did it increase your drug use, you think?
I don't know.
No?
It's hard to tell. You know, the AA Big Book says the reason we use drugs or alcohol, they say obviously, is because we like the effect it's produced. It doesn't say we do it to, hide from reality. It doesn't say that, whether it's true or not.
Yeah, I guess that's a place where I'd follow my intuition and think, like, it makes sense that as a result of A, that B would happen.
Well, it
as a
says
result
resentment
of-
is the number one thing
Yeah.
that destroys alcoholics.
That's the number one. Doesn't mean that the
Even
other
more than
stuff-
alcohol.
Mourning will definitely raise
But
a
it's
lot of
saying
people's
it's saying
use.
even more than alcohol. anger destroys alcoholics. You would think an
I
alcoholic is
get you.
destroyed by alcohol
Right,
more
right.
than it, but resentment, it
Right.
says.
Did you have resentments against mom?
Maybe at the time when she was alive, not after. I mean, I
Why
just
not?
felt bad for her.
It's fair.
I just felt sorry
It's
for her.
fair to have resentments against somebody even when they
I
die.
had her on my fourth stop, so I definitely had resentments against her. But it was resentments of when she was alive that I had. You know, fights we were in and stuff, whatever. I don't
Right.
even remember what they were. But I know she was on my fourth step many times, so.
Right.
I mean, sending me off to boarding school probably
Right.
and
Right.
all that craziness. But yeah, I see it as positive too. You know, the channel. I think it's great.
Yeah. No
Yeah.
doubt. Do you think the people in your life, aside from forget dad, let's say people who you spend a little more time with, like your girlfriend, her kids, do they see it as positive?
Yeah.
Or does it ever take you away from things with them?
So, dude, I work constantly on this.
Yeah.
This is like all day, all night. They don't see what goes on in the behind the scenes with how much work this takes to responding to every comment, editing, talking to the supplement companies, talking to my affiliates. It's freaking full time. It's crazy. So I'm really blessed because Stephanie encourages it. She's like my, you know, she watches all, like every video, likes it, encourages me to work harder, offers to film me,
Mm-hmm.
doing workouts, this, that. So I'm really blessed. Does it take away from? Yeah, if I was not doing this, I'd probably have my phone or computer away and be spending more time with them.
But it's not something that they hold against you, that you think.
They haven't expressed it yet.
Do you care if it does?
If they brought it up, I would take a look at it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
You
If
wouldn't
they-
dismiss it. You would take a look at it.
Nah, if they brought it up, I would definitely take a look at it. And the doors that have opened because of it are been really nice. The
Right.
work I'm doing with Dark Labs now and freaking things I never. I mean, just this is nice. This is because I know people are gonna watch this and comment and enjoy it.
Right.
You know, hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah. But dude, we're totally qualified to do a podcast. I
Yeah.
mean,
Then we should do one. I don't know how often, but we definitely have a lot of different subjects to hit and to talk about. This was a more open discussion of the, you know, what is it? What should it be? What do we have?
I've always looked towards viewers for topics and stuff too.
Yeah.
Because I like to deliver what people want, you know, and ask for. Because I always was told as a content creator, it's like important to bring value to the viewer, not just what you want, but you know, to make sure they're engaged and
No
stuff.
doubt.
So I do definitely like when people don't know this, when they hit me up on Instagram or YouTube and say you should make a video about this or that, I write it down in my phone. Like I take notes, you know, if it's reasonable. And I've made a lot of videos. Like I've pushed a lot of the viewers' stuff right to the front, and stuff I've had on the list for months. I've pushed to the back to make. I was like, oh, that sounds good. I should do that. Like,
Right.
yeah. One was like, you should make a Dark Labs video about like your favorite to least favorite Dark Labs products, and so I did it right away. You know, things that are good ideas, or
Right.
someone's like, you should do a grocery shopping haul and show us everything you buy at the grocery store. I did it right away.
Yeah.
You know, video got thousands of views.
Right.
Those are cool
Yeah,
things.
for sure.
Yeah.
So,
People want to know, dude, because like we've been doing this a while, man. How long you been training?
I think almost 14 to 15 years.
15 years, man. I've been training. I've been training since I've been sober. Really, I mean, minus the little jail stint I did, and so So I was training before that with you when
Mhm.
and then I went to jail. And then I came out and started training again.
Right.
And I found a way where it's been sustainable for me, where I haven't fallen off at all. People want to know how we do that.
Mm. One valve on means another valve down. You and I are not party people, Ben. So a lot of people ask a question that sometimes the answer is way more obvious
Like
than
what
they're
question?
allowing. How do you stay consistent? And for us, it's much simpler for you and I, two people who very much value this as much as we do. We don't just say we value it, we value it.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that we know that our personalities are such that we are not party people. We're not up for going out and staying out super late and having major changes in our structure and our schedules. We are very, very much disciplined. So I think a lot of the answers are if you want this bad enough, if you actually want it, meaning, and want what, right? Want to have a good physique, want to be what I think is healthy, at least physically, want to be successful in your endeavor, you have to be consistent. And if you're gonna be consistent, then that means you have to put a major kibosh, or at very least a major limitation, on all the socializing and on all the partying and on all the changes and fluctuations in schedule. You are very, very structured and scheduled, and people need to be kind of that extreme if they are going to have what I would say, I mean, I'm speaking for you, an extremely impressive physique compared to the rest of the population, right? Because when people are asking you, they're saying, how do you look at like you do? And you do look better, more sculpted, more lean, whatever, than what, 90 something percent of people, right? And so, in order to get to that level, you need to be very, very serious and disciplined and structured.
Yeah, I tell people there's a few things, man, that I tell people about that. And I tell people, number one, I'm nothing, and I mean this from my heart, without God. I would be nothing. I'd be on the streets of LA, dude, without these 12 steps and the spiritual life that I've been given through through the 12 steps, through AA. So I don't even that discipline hardly even comes from me. Like, I'm an unstructured, untreated, like, all of a sudden one day, man, God literally removed my obsession to do heroin. Literally, I couldn't go freaking hours without doing
It
heroin.
wasn't all of a sudden one day, though. You were doing certain steps to make that happen.
Yeah, but the obsession was removed
Right.
like that.
But you were doing the work. Listen, the reason that
I
I
met
correct
God
that,
halfway.
yeah, that's why I say
made a
that.
contract.
Because it wasn't just, don't just
Correct.
wait for God to come get you.
No. I made a contract that I was going to follow through with the 12 steps, and I stuck to that contract.
Right.
And these are the results of it.
Right.
And that's where the same way my obsession was removed, it's the same way I have the discipline. There's a power that you tap into when you live a spiritual life, you know. And the other thing I'll say, man, is people need to adjust how they look at this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
If this is going to be a chore, it's never going to work. You got to look at this like almost getting high.
Mm-hmm.
This has to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
The gains, the seeing the progress, doing a grueling cardio session that afterwards you feel that runner's high or whatever the heck. The way powerful iron pumping feels, it gives you a good feeling.
But the deal is, right, you're not going to get necessarily the excitement to do it beforehand all the time.
Correct.
You got to definitely
100%.
put that out there.
The point is, if you continue on, you will connect
somebody always, I forget who it was, it always stuck with me. I think I only heard it the once, which was you'll never go to the gym and leave regretting that you came. You might have a tough time walking in there, but once you go through the motions and you get it done, you will not regret. On the contrary, you will be very glad that you went. You are not going to say, "Man, I wish I didn't step foot in this gym." So,
No, of course
for a
not.
lot of people, that battle is real, though, of getting themselves awake, of getting themselves up and moving, and of walking into those doors.
So that's the thing. So our head's going to do anything to talk us out
It's
of
an
it.
internal bully a lot
Our
of the
head
time.
will. Our head is going to go out of its way to get in the way of us going to the gym. So you got to have your body armor on for that. And what that looks like for me, first of all, plans work best in my experience when they're solidified in black and white. When you write down your plans.
Always. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
When you solidify a plan in front of you in black and white, this thing has a tougher time talking you out of it.
Yeah.
When I put on the dang calendar 4 times a year, start rest week. That way I don't leave it up, oh, when am I going to do a rest week?
Right.
It's on the calendar. This is when it's going to happen. There's no talking my head out of it. Last week of June, last week of March, whatever it is, it's on there in black and white. So this thing can't freaking destroy me.
Yeah.
The other thing is, there's no thinking for me. When am I going to go to the gym?
No.
When you have a routine and I come home, take a 20-minute nap, take my non-stim pre-workout, I train. It's just part of my day. It's what you do.
Well, it's nice when you have the luxury of knowing what your schedule is, and some people can counter that point, right, and say, well, my boss doesn't give me my schedule until the Sunday before the work week or whatever. But the fact of the matter still remains the same: is if this matters enough to you, when you get that schedule, and work should be a priority, it is. It's got to be. You got to make the money. You got to pay the bills. Is that right when you get that schedule, you look into it and you then plan for the rest of the week or for the days that you at least have, that you know what you've got going on, where you're going to plan your workout around that, right?
Dude, it's 100% about priorities.
Yeah.
If we live in a society where they prioritize for us, like you were just saying, that partying is important.
Mm-hmm.
Like we both know people that can't imagine wasting a Saturday night without going out to a scene or something.
They imagine that it is a waste to stay home.
They couldn't imagine just chilling at home, recovering,
Yeah.
resting, because we're so programmed by society that your free time needs to be spent with in a social scene or a zillion people or whatever. It's all about priorities and reconditioning ourselves.
I think you and I, too, what we have to offer sometimes is like a perspective. We have gone through something, maybe not more necessarily than a lot of people, but I think sometimes we use the things that we've gone through to help us live our lives in the way that we do. Like, for instance, for you've been in jails, right? You've had to sleep in freaking dorm style jails with like the 100 people around you and freaking whatever. And then I've been to a fun little I'll call it a little mental health campground, right? After Mom passed away, 6 months later, I kind of checked out, was doing a little overtime in my head, and had to go take a nice long nap. And so I know what it's like to be kind of in a situation that seems pretty dire in a way. Seems. And so I'm very appreciative when things are just calm. And so I don't feel like Saturday night at home is a waste of time. I feel just freaking thankful that I'm not in the same place that I was before.
Dude,
and
I look around sometimes and I'm like, it's even surreal I have this home.
Yeah.
Anytime I get to spend here with the pups and just chilling and sitting still, dude, I don't sit still enough. When I get up
Right.
at 6 in the morning, I don't stop moving till freaking 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
My goal is always to do less.
Yeah.
You know, but that's because I'm wired differently now that I'm sober. I mean, dude, I spent my whole life as a lazy, unproductive, unstructured dude. I thrive on this now.
Yeah.
But there's got to be, just like getting sober, there's a sense of the people who I see get sober
Mm-hmm.
and stay sober, they have a sense of urgency to do it.
Right.
There's something in them that says, this is freaking life or death, man. This is freaking urgent right now, or this illness is going to freaking destroy me and kill me. That's where I was.
Yeah.
There was nothing left for me but to die or to get sober. I mean, I had a decision. I think if you really want the physique of your dreams, it's got to be a sense of urgency. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy to me. Not crazy. I can't say it's crazy because it never surprises me anymore. But I'm desensitized by it at this point. How people go their entire lives struggling to their what they think is overweight, or they are overweight, and they struggle to just find that discipline. It's always this struggle for years and years. I mean, people go almost their entire lives that way.
So what do you think they're missing?
Well, it's not God, that's for sure.
No, I wasn't asking that for that answer. I mean, they're missing something, right? If they're filling the void
For
with
sure,
food.
yeah, they're missing something, or they're adding
do you
too much
believe
other stuff.
I mean, are they all addicts? Are they?
I don't know.
It's hard to label people,
yeah,
right?
it's hard to label. But they're definitely, at the very least, they're lacking discipline. At the very least, because I don't feel. I say that.
Are they lacking a sense of urgency?
They're lacking. Well, not necessarily. It depends. If their goal is truly to make a change, that's the thing. Is like, do you truly want to change? I hear you complaining about it all the time. I hear you saying it.
So they are lacking a sense of urgency. It's not urgent.
Yeah, they're lacking a sense of urgency.
There's no
when somebody's
consequences
desperate
yet.
enough, they'll do what they need to do.
So with these people who are overweight, you think they just haven't suffered enough consequences from it yet?
I think some people might argue, oh, it's a lack of education. They just don't know what to do. It's like, no. Well, then they're lacking the discipline to go get that education.
The people
because
you
can
work
easily
with,
do
dude,
that.
are not some people
No.
from the freaking hood
No.
who have 6 fast food restaurants in their neighborhood and no education. These are people from pretty affluent areas who are educated. They know that they need to be hungry in order to lose weight and uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, it's not a freaking crazy.
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, it depends how you see it. You apparently don't need to be hungry anymore to lose weight, or you don't need to be. Yeah, you don't.
Why?
Need
Because
to
of
be
the
hungry.
Ozempic?
Yeah, there are drugs out there now that can do that. So it surpasses the need to be disciplined now. And that's a problem in itself, but that's not one that I really wanted to jump into because that's a whole nother discussion.
You always pay the piper.
Yeah, that I do believe. And not just believe, I truly know it, that there is a piper to pay. And
For
that
sure.
we will be finding out what that is. Even though we've already found out in some cases, but I mean like a longer term type of thing. Like we aren't going to hear about this.
There is no replacement for the hard work
No.
and the benefits you get.
Right.
You're not getting the same buzz from freaking. You can't replace the work. There's no quick fix to a beautiful.
It doesn't
physique.
give you the sense of value and pride and all of that when you're taking something to do it for you.
I don't care if you're a bodybuilder on steroids. You are not getting around hard work.
Right.
There's no way to get around hard work.
Right.
You just can't. There's no way.
Yeah.
It always will. There's it's not going to work.
Which is why even when I do see a bodybuilder on steroids, who looks good, I'm not going, oh, he's on steroids, like so many people do. That's just a total lack of appreciation of all the other things this person does, which to me is just mind blowing that people jump there and they say, well, he's on steroids. Well, he's on steroids. And it's like, well, does he look good or doesn't he? And if he does, well, then he's doing more than just steroids.
I've never seen a bodybuilder, at least, I mean, I only know them from the internet and
Right.
what they say they do, who doesn't focus on diet, their training,
Right.
proper rest, all that,
Yeah.
alongside with I mean, they're all pieces to the puzzle, as you would say, right?
No doubt.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to talk about, and you have your regimen and all of that, and when it comes to your TRT, and and the constant, I don't know, constant, but at least I guess once in a while you get those people who come on and say,
The more the
this guy's
channels
not
are-
just on test. You're tripping if you think this guy. It's like, man, that's such a compliment and must be a frustration all at the same time. It's like you want to be able to take that as a compliment, but at the same time, it's like you're already saying I'm guilty before.
It's
you're
to
even
me,
giving
it's
me
it's a
chance.
little frustrating because it should be a compliment, and I play it off like one, but it's like they've set me up for a lose-lose.
Yeah.
Because no matter what I say, I lose. Because if I
Get
first of all, I'm not
defensive.
gonna say I'm natural because I'm not natural.
Right.
I tell them I'm on TRT. I can't win with that because they'll say you're on more than TRT. There's no winning with these people.
Right.
And they never have a profile picture or any evidence of them doing anything. Never. Never, never, never. I've never met one person who trains hard, natural or not natural, who speaks like that on the internet.
Right.
I've never seen one.
Right. No. There are no. No, that doesn't exist.
It's frustrating, but it's problems of my own making because being on YouTube, you open yourself
Yeah.
up for this. So all I could do, I just tell them, like, dude, I answer to God at the end of the day. I don't answer to random people on YouTube. Like, if you want to be loving and interact with me, that's fine. But at the end of the day, I don't answer to you.
Right.
So you could think what you want, but I'm transparent with my viewers.
Right.
You know, I always have been. You know, I put my freaking heart and soul into being open about the craziness I've been through, how crazy my head works to this day, the stuff I struggle with. Everything, man. I mean, I've been open about heroin use, freaking my sex issues with women, my freaking trauma from dating freaking people in the industry, how that's had a lasting effect on me. I've opened my complete heart to my viewers. So if it's not enough, it's not enough.
Yeah.
You know?
I do know.
All right.
We're
All
gonna
right.
get through this.
I'm getting through it. I'm blessed because 99.99% of the comments are loving.
That's great. That's awesome.
Freaking-
It's more than I would have imagined.
Oh,
So,
dude.
that's
They're
awesome.
so loving. The
Yeah.
community is freaking unbelievably loving. It's incredible.
That's very good. The more I think that it's a numbers thing. The more you get, the more trolls you're gonna get. I think it's
Yeah.
just that's how it goes. The more out there you are, the more in the public eye that you are, the more likelihood
I
that the
open
clowns
myself.
are coming
These are
out.
problems
so.
of my own.
Yeah,
making.
no, they're good problems as long as you just end up needing the discipline to be able to overlook those things.
I know. The last thing you want to do is show them they've upset you.
Absolutely.
Right? 'Cause then they
well, that's the last thing that you want to do, but truly for yourself, the last thing that you want to do is actually get upset by it.
Right. You know, in it's like the sex play in prison. Did I ever tell you about that?
The sex play?
Mm-hmm.
No.
White boys are huge on sex play in prison. I was going to make videos about this. This is a real thing. When you go to prison, they warned me it would be like this. They'd say, hey man, someone might run up and like grab your dick. Like a dude.
Yeah.
Straight dude. Slap it. freaking whatever. They told me, they're like, you have a choice. You either can get upset about it, and they're going to know they can F with you the entire time you're there, or you can play along with it and laugh it off and, act like it's funny. And that's the last thing you want to do when some freaking guy runs up and grabs your dick or your freaking butt. But you gotta freaking act like it doesn't bother you at all, or they will screw with you the entire time in prison.
Prison doesn't sound so bad all of a sudden.
That's a big thing in prisons in California. That freaking weird sex play stuff with the white boys. They do that. They'll test you. That's how they test you.
They test you by testing your testes.
Yeah. No joke. People don't believe that. They freaking test you in there.
Wow.
And that's one of the ways they do it. See how you respond.
They do a little bit of this.
They'll go up to you in the shower, start talking about your dick, everything. They'll have 30-minute conversations about it to see how you react. Wow. They're freaking experts.
They'll have a whole podcast about your dick.
Whole podcast about each other. It's crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah, dude. So it's the same thing here. If I can get through that,
it's
I
not
can
the
deal
same
with
thing here.
It's not.
This is not sex play in prison. I want to make it clear to the people on the podcast that this is not going to be like sex play in a prison. This is going to be a very different format.
It's up to whatever they want to make it. If that's where they want to go with it, I'm no stranger to it. That's all I'm saying.
I'm a stranger to it.
Well,
so I'm not uncomfortable though. Very comfortable.
You should be.
I'm very comfortable.
You better be. They'll screw with you. These
all right.
people.
So we're gonna do something. We're gonna keep this going. We're gonna talk. We're gonna.
What's the
come
podcast
up with some
called?
content. The podcast is called. We'll come up with something. What do you want it to be called?
I don't know. Everything I do is Maniaco podcast or Maniaco.
Oh.
We could do anything. I don't really care.
All right. Well, Maniaco Bros podcast is a possibility. We'll go from there.
We could do anything. We could have guests. We could.
We might have guests. We're not there yet. We have to build. This is very similar to me and I think of it like in terms of building a relationship with the person in front of me. Mm-hmm. It's like I need to build a relationship with the people who watch because they need to actually trust me or like me or find me interesting or find me as a source that's trustworthy, and sometimes that takes time. So I think you and I need to kick it, and we need to talk, and we need to earn.
All right, bro. Don't second guess her. These people freaking love us.
Well, that's
man.
good.
We're all homies here.
I don't want to take advantage. So.
No. There's no advantage. These people, they're good, solid homies here, man. I'm telling you. These people are the most loving, supportive people, and we're all here to grow together. I'll tell you that.
Without sex play in a prison. We're not growing in that way. We're growing in this way. So
yeah.
All right, good.
How
Episode 1.
Wow. 1 hour exactly. God bless all of you, man. Together. Let's get this dang muscle. We're out.